So let's talk about that State of the Union tonight coming up, and particularly from the Republican side. If you're a Republican senator sitting there, what are you listening for?
Well, first of all, this will be, I guess probably the 50th State of the Union I will observe. 35 of them I actually attended, but one time I was the designated survivor. So I was in a remote site during the session. But I think Republicans will be looking for the president. First of all, I would suggest that it'd be 40 minutes or less. He also needs to show a little humbleness, and I know that's very hard. I think that they would like for him to focus on not just one subject, border security, but talk about the economy is good. Talk about that, but also talk about where bipartisanship could actually work. Infrastructure, which has already been discussed here. There are some concerns about how to deal with prescription drugs. He needs to talk about an agenda that could bring about unity. That's a hope, a wish, but it's hard to achieve these days.
Yeah, when you were there, I remember you were working with Tom Daschle over various things when you were majority, minority, whatever, and got some things done. But let's talk about border security just for a minute, because I think that will loom large, whether we're going to have another government shutdown or not. Is it your estimation that the Republican Senate will back him on another government shutdown at this point? There are reports, some of the Republicans are saying, we don't want to do that again.
Well, I'm sure they don't want to do it again, and I never liked them, and I had to deal with about 10 of them over the years, most of the time very short ones, but it was always a dumb idea. That's not a solution. I'm sure that Senate Republicans would like for some alternative to be worked out, and it's very easy to get it done. I hope when he talks about it, he'll talk about, look, we have an issue. We have a caravan at the border. We need more border security. Yes, let's use technology. Let's use fences. If you don't like a wall, then put parentheses, no concrete wall. But I think clearly, he's going to have to mention it. But he's got a lot of other things he needs to talk about, including what are we going to do on trade and how is he doing with China. I think he's liable to talk about that. So I think they're looking for a very statesmanlike presentation, hopefully. Look, this is one of the great moments in the history of our country. How many times a year do you have the president, vice president, the Supreme Court, the Joint Chiefs, the House, the Senate all together? And they need to show decorum and dignity. And that begins with the president. But Republicans and Democrats in the past, I've been there, I get so embarrassed when we act like a bunch of kids. One side jumps up and applauds, the other side sits on their hands, and then they switch roles. That's just not appropriate for this occasion. I hope the president will give them some reason to say, yes, this was a positive speech. But I hope the House and the Senate will act like men and women of dignity, not a bunch of school kids.
So, Senator, the reason you were there that long and were that successful was because you could count the votes. You could figure out where you could really come up with a deal that would work. As you look at the issues, and you named several of them, and we've got immigration, we've got trade, we've got infrastructure, we've got drug policy. As you look at that whole list, do you see one where you think, you know what, if I were back up there, I think I can get a deal with the president to actually get something done?
It'd be actually, I think, easy in many respects. Now, it's important that the president and the speaker calm the rhetoric down a little bit. But this group that's meeting, the 17 members, House, Senate, Republican, Democrat, they're very capable. Those appropriators, they know the numbers. They know how to get it done. And it's very simple how they could work it out. Number one, go ahead and take a positive step on the so-called dreamers. It's going to be done. It's got to be done. It should be done in a sensible way. Doesn't mean amnesty. It means a legal path to being legal. Then they need to also go ahead and address things like the debt ceiling. And with regard to the border security, I've suggested to them that they split it into tranches, $1.4 billion, 1 year for 4 years. You can't spend the full 5.6 in 1 year anyway, so divide it up. Give the president a chance to say, yes, we're going to have border security, maybe not, a concrete wall, but multiple ways, and we'll do so much each year. He can say, look, here's my 5.6, and the Democrats can say, yeah, you might get 2.8, but after the next election, we'll decide where it's going to go. There it is. Those are the parameters of what could be a deal that would be good and acceptable for everybody and good for the country.